actually got to sit down with two of the doctors that provide abortions at the only freestanding abortion clinic in the state of Missouri. And their big concern is what's going to happen to them in the future. And we talked about a variety of things. At the time we were sitting down, the governor was signing the bill for the abortion bill itself in Missouri, and it had restrictions in there. We talked to them about the restrictions and what they felt of the signing of the bill itself, what that meant to them. And here's what they had to say. What's your reaction to the governor signing the bill today?
I'm certainly not surprised. I think we were expecting it. As we're sort of pursuing all of our legal routes and challenges that are possible, we here at Planned Parenthood will continue to make sure that the Missourians who need abortion care will be able to get that, whether that be with us or with another provider.
While the governor has signed the bill, it doesn't mean that it's actually in effect yet. Abortion is still legal and accessible here at Planned Parenthood in Missouri, as we are the last freestanding clinic for abortion care in the state.
What's your reaction to the bill being called a heartbeat bill?
Many of these bills are equating a 6-week pregnancy as having a fetal heartbeat. At 6 weeks, we're talking about essentially 2 tubes that are lined by some cardiac cells that can do some vibration. So to suggest or to equate, the singularity of the heart as being a sign of some sort of viability is really just medically inaccurate.
Another term that's been used a lot, partial birth abortion. What's the meaning behind that?
It's not a thing. Again, it's another demonstration of how the legislatures and the extreme anti-choice groups have tried to coin language to sort of reach to people's sort of heartstrings and emotions. From a medical lens, I have no idea what that means, right? That has not ever been a medical procedure, and it continues to not be a medical procedure.
And I think language matters. I teach this to the medical students, I teach this to the residents, and when we are clear on the terminology in the medical space, is easy to talk to patients. But when it's not clear on the legal realm, with these laws being passed and conflating all this language, it makes it impossible to be a healthcare provider and do the right thing for your patients without wondering, am I or am I not in line with the law?
And Casey, that was a conversation we had on Friday. Today we had a press conference with one of those doctors and Planned Parenthood in general, and they essentially said exactly what you were talking about, that it looks like that clinic is being threatened to be closed on Friday because of some restrictions that the state is putting in place. And one of the restrictions in particular they were concerned with was the fact that they wanted to interview, what Planned Parenthood is calling interrogate, the providers. There's 7 providers at this clinic. The 2 you saw there are the employees of the clinic. They're the ones that give full-time care. They have 5 other providers. Some of those are trainees, residents and fellows. They wanted to talk to them as well, and they could not give them any assurances that nothing legal would happen beyond that.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.